Ori and the Will-O-Wisp. The opening cutscene continues from the first game. We get to see Ori, Gumu, now raising Ku, the owl. Her mother gives her daughter a gift. It's her feather. It's nice to see in a way her mother gets to live on. Ori and the Will-O-Wisp is absolutely gorgeous with the visuals and soundtrack. How they added attentions to details, such as the spirit gate. Ori throws the keystones in the holes, which is amazing. Speaking of content, Will-O-Wisp adds new features such as quest spirit trials, a race which allow you to race with ghosts to beat other players or yourself. Your charts replace ability trees, and they are power-ups which could be swapped or even make the game more challenging. After we open the first spirit gates, we see a terrifying wolf creature named a Howl. This is the first boss of the game. Ori defends itself with that fire torch. Howl runs away. It's afraid of the fire. That we go to the first ancestral tree. The animation is absolutely beautiful. Ori wakes up at ancient light. We see both Naru and Gumu are looking for us. They realize we're on a different island. Wakes up. These creatures known as Moki notice we have become lightened. We get a new ability called Spirit Edge. Will-O-Wisp, we get a brand new overall combat system that focuses on melee. What's great is this tutorial section doesn't feel like a tutorial. It feels natural. The Moki tells us to meet the guardian marsh named Koki. Before we meet Koki, we find a monkey with a staff. While he's talking, a black bird is flying. He tells us that Shriek. It seems that we bothered her by landing here, but Ori is overall weak. We can use the spirit light as currency instead of XP in this game. I like this change because they can make it so that acting light gives better rewards. It searches for Kikuwood. It informs that the Ku landed in Silent Wood. Get the voice of the forest named Sire. It tasks us to clean the water. Later, Ori meets this blue terrifying monster, but we get saved by Oliver. We run away from the monster, and then the water is clean. The water is gorgeous. We meet Kokolot again. We're told that Shriek lives in the Silent Wood. She cries in pain. We must find Ku before this terrifying bird does. If you don't want to be spoiled, then click off of this video. If so, continue watching this video. See Shriek at a closer distance. The way it walks is so frightening. We don't belong here. Like in the Blind Forest, I like how each area has a distinct mood. It's a contrast with the Inkwater Marsh, which is bright and colorful. Silent Wood has monotone colors. It has a spooky feeling to it. We explore more, and I find it interesting. The game uses visual storytelling. We see two owls and an egg. We finally found Ku. I was so happy, delighted to learn that it's alright. And Ori and Ku working together is amazing and fun. However, as Ori and Ku try to escape Silent Wood, Shriek attacks Ori. However, Ku defends Ori, but we see that Shriek crushes Ku. Got upset seeing the outlet get hurt by this monster. Seeing Ku lay on the ground made me sad. Seeing Ku being carried back to Kokolot's hollow. Voice of Force tries to help, but it isn't powerful enough. Kokolot tells us that the lights have shattered. If nothing is done about it, the land will become decayed. Kokolot tasks us to find the wisp, and he joins along. We're able to do the 3 wisps in any order. However, I would suggest you to get it at Balu's Reach. The reason why is because the light burst ability is the best ability in the game for its utility, and it's a fun ability to use in my opinion. After you beat Balu's Reach, the Spirit Bear explains that Shriek was born from dust. She was born without parents. She also lacked belonging. Shriek moves out and finds baby owls, trying to find a connection with them. But the big owls show up, despised by the others for walking differently and looking differently. She felt loneliness. As Carl Jung said, loneliness does not come from having no people around you, but being unable to communicate things that seem important to you. This can make a person more sensitive to social threats or one confirmation bias, meaning that the area she was born in is the normal way to her. She goes back to her land. The second quest I did was from Luma Pools. The pink colors in the area make it look gorgeous. I think it's the second most beautiful area in the game. However, we find Cocolit, and that terrifying blue monster possessed it. Ori was forced to fight him. He regains his control of his mind. He crushes the monster. Cocolit gives a speech how we're strong and we need to watch over the land. Next area I went was Motola Depths. What makes this place unique is the darkness mechanic. It can hurt Ori if there's no light source, making player cautious. Eventually Ori is able to create its own light. Eventually we have to fight a spider boss. After we beat it, we learn its name is Mora. It thanks Ori for freeing her from the darkness. Ori's presence gives hope to the area. We must find the final wisp. The final area we locate is called the Heart of the Forest. We go inside the Windtorn's ruins. The art on the wall is starting to look good. It says for every spirit tree a light. For every light there's a tree. Always existing in balance. The light can't hold itself. One of the arts caught my attention. Sire says that hope would come, opening our eyes to see through the darkness, saying it would return the memories what was forgotten, bring us strength when we're weak, and saying there's a cycle that continues. I found this to be interesting to learn there's a cycle of light and darkness. We go to the Spirit Willow, then eventually we go outside to restore the light with Sire. The scene is beautiful and enlightening. Only Weeping Ridge is standing in our way. We need to go to the Spirit Willows to restore the light with Sire. And this is one of the most beautiful areas in the game. Shriek is about to attack Ori on our way, but Sire defends us with the light burst ability, blinding her and knocking her back. But Sire gets aggressive, but Ori contains Bite. Shriek hurting Ori and his friend Ku earlier on in the game. Ori tries to give it kindness, but it rejects it, and being blinded by her past, she goes with the darkness instead of embracing the light. Later on, tells us it can't hold the light no more. As time passes, enlightens us. We must leave behind the past before us to save the lives of all. Join us now with Sire, embrace the light. Then Shriek comes down to stop this process. The final boss fight, we fight this big stone bird. Beating Shriek, it falls eventually. It goes back to its birthplace. She puts herself under her parents' wings, resting with comfort and warmth. As she closes her eyes for the final time, she succumbs to the decay. I feel bad for Shriek. It's a sad tale. It makes me sad that she had to go. She didn't deserve this fate in my opinion, but I guess some will always embrace the darkness. After that, we get to see ghostly images again. Like in the first game, Ori touches the light. Eventually, Ori infuses with the light, creating a light beam for all of the characters to see in awe. The most beautiful music I ever heard in a video game immediately makes me tear up. Ku is lifted by the light and revived by it and then hugged by Naru. This is the most beautiful thing I ever seen. We cry in joy. See the light from above, and then eventually something sprouts. Narrator and Ori were one and the same. This is the lightning twist to the game. See the little sapling grow up into a big tree. Conclusion, this is a great ending for the Ori and the Will of Wisp. This is the most sad/beautiful ending I ever seen for a video game. It has truly enlightened me. May not have the power to save the world, have the power to be kind. Go on this spiritual journey, fulfill your potential in life. Truly hope these kind of videos help, and I'll be making more of these videos, but overall, In the Will of Wisp is a great game and you should play it too. It was the will of the wisp that life became anew. We saw a spirit leaf fulfilling the enlightened destiny. Music and the cutscenes captured my heart. It made me care about the world I was in. I already won a third game to this wonderful series of games. I got a suggestion for the third game. The spirit leaves falls into the decayed land. Infuses with the darkness as a survival tactic. However, you are who you choose to be in this game. There will be 3 endings, a lightened ending, a darkened ending, and a neutral ending. The reason why I think this is a good idea is, remember how I said I found it interesting there's a cycle between light and darkness? What if you as the player got to control their action? You can imagine is for the light path, you as a player choose the kindness and the forgiveness to give enemies. An example of this is Ori giving Gumo kindness. Yes, I understand it's a cutscene, but not to take away from it, but to add to it, as you as the player get to make that decision despite not knowing the enemy's motivation. I want the light path to primarily focus on utility-based skills. There's frameworks from the first and the second game to allow this to happen. Ori in the Blind Forest already has abilities to avoid enemies such as Bash, and in the Definitive Edition there's Light Burst and Dashing. In the first game, most of the enemies were unkillable. Rhino that Ori can't hurt, however you can trick it into a Stomper, defeating it, giving Ori life. You can cause an enemy to self-destruct themselves. Also, if you defeat 25 enemies using Bash to reflect projectiles, you also get an achievement. I have a new suggestion for ability. It's called the Light Shield that absorbs enemies' projectiles, deflecting it but turning the projectile into light and turning the enemy eventually into a light creature. However, if you choose the light path, there will be inner demons that will try to prevent you from doing so. Up to you as the player to face those inner demons and challenge them, become an enlightened creature on a spiritual journey. However, if players go with the inner demons, they get new skills such as Shadow Claw that pulls enemies closer and does tons of damage, or ability called Trickster that makes a shadow copy of the darkened spirit to deceive enemies. My suggestion for this system is, instead of basing it off of morality, it should be based off of ability. The reason why I think this would be better is because the designers could allow for situations where darkness could be good in certain scenarios or light could be bad in certain scenarios. In this video, even if they don't take my suggestion, that's fine because I'm really interested in the direction that they take the third game.